Greetings for the day, friends. Welcome to Konaksha Corporate Insight. Through this show, we discuss about the special event of growing companies from different sectors. In today's episode, we are discussing Q2 FY21 results of Moratel Laboratories Limited. The company is leading manufacturing of APIs, diagnostic devices through in the India. To discuss the result, we have with us Mr. Sushil Suri, Chairman and Managing Director of Morpel Laboratories Limited. And from Investor Fraternity, we have market veteran Mr. Ambrish Baliga, Independent Market Expert. Welcome, sir. Welcome all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, Suri, sir, to just start a discussion. So let us know how was the Q2 overall and what was the outstanding product or segment for the Q2?
Q2, of course, was an excellent quarter. And on the background of Q1, we had a wonderful Q1. And now having a wonderful Q2. Is the voice clear?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Yeah, in the background of a wonderful Q1 and now a very good Q2. So the whole point was that Q1 was very good and we had 47% growth, and we were expecting that growth to continue. Thankfully, this quarter we have grown much faster. Our growth in the quarter-on-quarter basis is 57%. And it's not coming from one particular segment. All the segments have grown up and grown up very nicely. API, which is our core, has grown up almost 60%, and finished dosages, the diagnostic devices have grown up almost 98%, almost double, which is a very good contribution. The contribution of diagnostic devices has gone up from 21% to 25%, which is excellent. And finished dosages is still recovering from this COVID problems, and it has come almost at the same level. We are only -4%. OTC, our Dr. Martens brand, that has come up very well, even though it has disturbance in the market due to obvious COVID problems. But because we launched many COVID-related products, so even this OTC also has grown up by 53%. So all the three divisions have performed very well. And if case you can go one slide back, I think you'll see the numbers are very, very encouraging. Net revenue 57%, EBITDA is almost double, 99%. Profit is almost two times up, and of course ultimately affecting the EPS and the net profit also. So both are almost 5 to 6 times. So it's a wonderful quarter. And if to want to say highlight of the quarter was, of course, if case can we go to the next slide, please, and one further down. Yeah, we can go down. These are the manufacturing facilities, and of course, yeah, I think we can talk a bit about the facilities. Yeah, can you go up, please? Yeah, basically, this is the main Baddi facility, which is approved by the US FDA. And on the right-hand side, you'd see these production blocks, and these are all production blocks, R&D blocks, and then there's double height stories and medical devices. On the right-hand side, we have a plan for expansion where we will be expanding for the API side. We have another parcel of land. And on the left-hand side, the additional parcel of land, what we see, that is the expansion plan for the medical devices. So basically, around 60 acres of land parcel is there with all the infrastructure built up. So we feel that, okay, this is enough for us for growth in the next at least 5 to 10 years. And we have two more facilities. If we go back one slide, two more facilities which are approved by US FDA, but these are approved and Masood Khana is approved for the API. And of course, the facilities have been inspected and approved by Korea, Japan, Europe, Australia, and of course our local GMP. So good infrastructure, good facilities. So now we can go to the numbers again. We go down. Yep. So total revenue, like we discussed, is 57% up, and export, of course, is 38% and is also up 38%. Domestic market has been 72%, had grown up very nicely to 72%. if you look at the half-yearly number, we have clocked almost 600 crores. So this is inching towards our overall number of 1,200 crores if we continue the same growth trend on our next 2 quarters also. But very comfortably, we'll cross our internal target. Our internal target was 1,050, 1,060. So we are almost 10% ahead of the internal targets. Please keep going ahead. In case we see the segment-wise revenue, so like we discussed, API is the core, and 63% of the business is coming from API. Last year it was 62%. Export has also jumped from 39 to 41%, and diagnostic devices, as I shared, has jumped from 21% to 25%. So there's an overall growth on all the sides, and export remains the core, API remains the core, diagnostics is upcoming. Formulation, as you can see, has reduced from 17% to 12%. Looking at the segment-wise growth, the API has grown by 60%, devices, as I shared, 98%, and Dr. Morphin has already grown by 53%. So we talked about the segment-wise growth, which is all the three segments have been growing.
Right.
And now we quickly come to the API business, which had been our core business. In the API, we have the very high-value drugs, which have complex chemistry and a multi-stage synthesis. And of course, we work primarily in the lifestyle chronic diseases with a high growth, and of course, with a consistent demand. So unlike some of the companies which are dealing with old products, our company is dealing with the very high-value products. So there's a 60% growth in the API. And not to mention that API, our export component for this quarter is 69%. Even though last year it was 70%, 69% in this quarter. Domestic has also gone up. Domestic is 143%. And overall, if you look at the export, it is around 72% growth in the export segment year after year. 72% of the goods are exported. So all across the various continents, they have been growth. US market has grown by 16%, Europe has grown 10%, APAC has grown 45%, and overall the export has grown by 37%. So the company has built in good IP, which is around 125 patents and DMFs and 111 DMS, including Europe and US market, Japan, China. Got 9 ideas in China. Then, of course, we have expansion of the APIs coming up, which we shared in the earlier time. And when expansion is coming up, the market is spending a lot, so we will come to that. Diagnostic devices, as I shared, has gone up very nicely to 98%. And in diagnostic market, glucometers have grown 74%, BP monitors have grown 185%. Thermometers, which was one of the reasons was this infrared thermometers, because this was maybe temporary, but 311%. Nebulizers have grown 43%. Glucometers constitute around 71% of the market, and we have 4 million installations of the glucometers, for which we all keep selling the strips. And out of the 4 million, around 4 lakh new meters were introduced in Q2 only. And we have more than 500 million strips already sold from last 5-6 years, in last 5-6 years. And 60 million strips were sold only in the quarter. This quarter ended September. Finished dosage market, as I shared, is coming back. We are in this quarter 4% down. Next quarter, we should be able to cover it up. Dr. Morphin, as an OTC division, has gone up 53%, which is very good hike. Financial highlights, we shared with you that the net revenue 57% up, expenditure is 50% up, and EBITDA, of course, is 99% up. So it's a very balanced and a stable growth, which we can see. And on strength of the good EBITDA, profit before tax is almost double, because we do not have much of depreciation, and we are a zero interest company, zero debt company. And whatever is coming up is almost adding to the EBITDA only. So there's not much taxation this year, and last year there was some reversal of the tax of the MAT because of change of tax regime. So profit has gone up 566% after tax, and so does the EPS. Looking at some of the balance sheet ratios, equity capital remains same, around 90 crore. Reserves and surplus have gone up by around 45-46 crores, 241 crore. Total shareholders fund 331 crore. and our ROI in the books is around 14%. Of course, we have in the book some preference capital of the banks, which is lying. Of course, there's no other debt, there's no term loan. So the total capital employed, shareholders funds plus the preference capital is around 450 crores, which is giving a RO, return on capital employed to the tune of 10 to 11%. Last year it was 10.2, now it is 10.6%. That's broadly, I would say, the quarter which has gone by.
Amreshji, you can take it forward.
Thank you, Asawal, for your kind introduction. And I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Sushil Suri, Chairman and MD of Molepen Laboratories.
Present, sir.
Clearly, I think it was a very impressive performance, no doubt. And Dr. Molepen is a widely known brand. Molepen Laboratories also has been listed, I think, for nearly 30 years plus. But strangely, I should confess that I never really got down to tracking this stock. In our market circles, we tend to look at those stocks which are being talked about or covered by someone or the other. But Molepen, as a stock or a research idea, I do not think anyone really covered it in the last many years. I was quite surprised that a company like yours, which has been there for such a long time, it no doubt went through a bad phase, and as of now, I think it's risen like a phoenix, and it's still not on anybody's radar. I checked with a few old timers in this market, who've been there since the 80s and the 90s, to basically to get their view on the stock. Since I was preparing for this interview, although they were not really aware of the latest developments or the recent financials, they did say that there were some legacy issues, though they didn't really remember exactly what they were. The feeling which I got was there seems to be some sort of a mind block about this stock. So my first question to Mr. Suri is, what are these legacy issues that people have been talking about, and where do we really stand on those as of now?
Good, Amrish. Like you said, we're talking 80s and 90s. You want to go back like 20, 30 years. You're right that for last almost 20 years, we were, say, away from the market. And obviously, we haven't been communicating much with the people, and we were busy in our cleaning the house, to keep it simple. And to bring you to speed, that we had basically back in 96, 98 decided that okay, we don't want to continue with old products like ampicillin, amoxicillin, etc., and we want to get into high value molecules. So at that time, back in 96, 98, we started working on new molecules, and we were inspected by FDA in 98, and we were the youngest company in the country to get FDA. So we were on a high, and the markets were high, and we were respected. And at some point of time, our share price had gone up to 1,200 rupees. And I remember a few days when we were running parallel to Ranbaxy. So I would say we were on a high, and share price ranging between 500, 700. Everything was going good. And certainly we were having a paragraph 4 challenge on one of our prime product, Loratadine. So everything was going nice when just on 2 weeks before the patent expiry, the innovator switched that product into OTC. Instead of being an RX product where we were going to get huge margins, they switched that product to OTC. So in OTC, as we understand that insurance companies do not fund OTC products. So insurance, you have to co-pay. Basically, almost the insurance claim remains only 10%. The prices drop.
Right.
So that's where we suffered. The product which we were supposed to sell at around $25,000, $26,000, the price dropped to as low as $1,000.
Oh, okay.
So there was a big short on the arms of the company, rather below the band, and all our dreams shattered. And the innovator refused. Our collaborator refused to pick up the material. And we had, in the meantime, gathered huge loans to the tune of 750 crores. While we were expanding OTC, RX, Baddi factory. So we had, I would say, we were expanding left, right, and center. And of course, expecting a big I would say, boom for the company. But innovators are smarter than us. Ultimately, we're a generic country, generic company. So fine, it's a business deal. So we suffered heavily, but we still convinced Novartis that okay, they are a generic company. They are a generic company called Geneva, and Sandoz, they big pot leader. So we convinced them that okay, even at $1,000, we'll supply you, even if we supply at loss, but we'll supply because we had no option.
Right.
So somehow we were able to crack that, and now we say with proud that in last 20 years, we still have Novartis as our customer. We have added few more customers, and we have more than 90% market share in the US market for the same product. Of course, prices have come down to $300, but we are still there. But on the financial side, since this was actually a news open in the market, so our bankers were disturbed and our, I would say, partners were disturbed that what would happen to the company. So we were running left, right, and center and raised a few more capital just to keep the ball rolling and pay to the banks. So finally, when we raised a GDR around $15 million back in 2002, so some of the foreign bank came and took a stay on the GDR, and that was the end of it. So once the GDR was stayed, they went to DRT or DRAT, wherever. So then it went into a loop. So we were in circles for last then 5-6 years. So I would say that was the last thing we saw. After 2000 or 2000, I would say December 2000, there was no fresh induction of capital in the company. And the only thing we have been doing from 2000 2006 was settling the banks. And we were the only company, I would say we were the one of the successful CDRs, which was completed in 2006. We settled the banks. We had some land parcel in Goa, which we sold, paid to the banks. Promoter capital was raised. It's another point that it took us almost 10 years to get that capital registered because of regulatory matters. So we got listed last 2 years only. So we now, as we stand today, coming the long story short, as we stand today, all the banks have been paid, CDR has been settled, and there is no pending liability in the books. So we have only 119 crore of preference capital of the banks, which was given to them as a part of the restructuring, which they, I would say, prefer not to convert into equity. It is still lying in our books. So they still have either right to convert into equity, or now since we have enough cash flows and fresh capital is coming up, so technically we can pay them. Earlier we could not have settled them because we had carry forward losses. Now the company is showing good profits and there is enough surplus in the books, so we can settle them. So depending on how do they want to go. So that's on the preference capital. Side by side, while this banking thing was going, and we had a big bag of fixed deposit holders. So around 80,000 depositors were there.
Oh,
This is a
okay.
block. So company had no cash to pay. And we certainly proposed them that okay, we can do a restructuring or waiver of interest. So there is no way company law board CLB could have done. We moved to High Court in Shimla, so Himachal High Court. So we filed a petition under section 391, 394, wherein we restructured the so-called debt, which is one form of debt, and converted that also into equity.
Oh,
I do not know. I haven't heard any other example. We are the only one in the country who have offered
yeah.
shares to the FD holders. So nobody has ever done because we had no cash. We had to innovate. And the shares got listed in 2009 somewhere. And now, after 9 years and after 10 years, NCLT was born, and NCLT comes and they say, oh, by the way, those shares were wrongly issued for whichever technical reason. And there was some section which was supposed to supersede a section, whatever, for some technical reason. They say these shares have been wrongly issued and you should cancel those shares. And for God's sake, we can't cancel those shares because shares are in demand. People have sold the shares. Some people have pledged those shares. Don't know where is this thing. We can't cancel. So we requested everybody to write to us who would like to cancel their shares, send us the credentials, send us the bank details. So nobody was interested and nobody was even aware of this thing that after 10 years you have to return the shares. We didn't get much response, but after consulting from some senior professionals in the industry and some High Court, Supreme Court judges, retired judge, so we got an opinion that we should give them one more final chance before we close the scheme. We gave them a final chance till 30th September. But as we sit today, we got around 50 lakh shares people have surrendered, which we are cancelling now as per the court order. And then coming to which we are cancelling, and after that, there's no pending liability in the books.
Mm-hmm.
That was the second point. And the other, from a so-called legacy point of view, there is no pending issue which is there in the books of accounts. So the only
Okay.
point is that whatever our assets are there, whatever balance sheets are there, so our balance sheets are getting, I would say, thicker. Our asset blocks is getting thinner because we have not added any capital,
Uh-huh.
and we haven't got any working capital from the bank. And not ashamed to share that today we are doing 1,200 crore top line without a single penny working capital from any bank.
That's
So we
commendable. Uh,
we don't have even a one plain simple bill discounting limit. We don't
mhm.
have a limit. We don't use any facilities from any bank,
Okay.
and not that that we don't may not need for practical purposes, but because of the complex banking system, so our assets are still our lying with some bank they haven't released because of the
Mm-hmm.
preference capital thing, and no bank would give us funding. And whatever we have done in last 20 years, paid all the banks, settled fixed deposits, and the company is growing on
Mm-hmm.
internal cash accounts. Last few years, if you are in the market, you know that people have been running back and forth from NCLT and debt and
Right.
DRTs.
Absolutely.
Thankfully, we remained away from those things, and
Mm-hmm.
we do not have any debt. So zero debt, zero working capital, and
Mm-hmm.
all went out of internal cash flow.
Super.
Now,
Super.
I do not know it's a legacy issue or it's a legacy championship. So we always say, oh, we have done a lot. So we are happy.
In fact, thank you for your detailed explanation. I think whatever could have gone wrong went wrong, but it's great that you've been able to set that right.
Yep.
I'm sure analysts and investors would understand that there have been those genuine business issues, probably some judgment error on the part of the management. However, I think all's well that ends well. And
I
now
always
since
say that doing business is no crime. Failure is no crime. We did
absolutely,
business, we didn't, but in today's world, failure is a crime. So if you go wrong, you are punished.
yeah, but now I think clearly you seem to be on a growth path. So I think with all these legacy issues behind you, I think
Yep.
let's just move on to the performance since the last few quarters, especially the last quarter, I think, which you discussed a while back.
Yep.
Clearly, it was a superlative performance in APIs and medical devices, which I think are your focus areas.
Yep.
I will not really delve much into the numbers since you already covered that. But then I've noted that Morapan accounts for nearly 59% of India's exports. Now the company's exports, India's exports of Loratadine, which I think grew what 87% Y on Y.
Yep.
Similarly, I think Montelu Cast, I hope I'm spelling it right, accounts for nearly 37% of India's exports, growing again at about 8-9%. Then Atorvastatin, which is Lipitor, Rosuvastatin, which again is used for cholesterol. I think all these are your major contributors. And I think the last one, the Rosuvastatin, really grew about 80% the last quarter. So I would like to understand what's your moat in APIs that makes you excel in these specific products.
Look, Amrish, the way we have groomed ourselves and the way we have developed our business model, and somehow maybe it's a defect in the DNA. We don't want to be a part of the crowd. We never stand in a
Mhm.
queue. We don't want to be a crowd, part of the crowd. We always try
Right,
to make
right.
a place for ourselves. Like you see that we have made a place for ourselves in the diagnostic sector, which nobody in the country thought. We created a brand, Dr. Morpen. No
Right.
pharma company has ever created a brand, by the way.
Mhm, mhm.
So there's no OTC brand in India per se, with
Right.
all those 1,000 companies in the country and maybe 40,000 finished dosage brands.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
people do not create consumer brands. Everybody wants to go to a doctor and get a prescription, and that's what I say. I would say they just follow a dotted line. So
Right.
basically, nobody is ready to take daring steps and create a path for itself. So we somehow have always had a habit of creating new things. So diagnostic devices we did this. We did. Similarly, in API, we always try to find a place wherein we can do the leadership, we can do the
Mhm.
master, perhaps a backward integration, and we will go as back as possible and manufacture all the intermediates for our own. and focus 100% of our energies on compliance, patents, and whatever the entry barriers are.
Mhm.
So, of course, offer the best quality. Even if we have to sell at a loss for a few years, we'll do that. But create a space for ourselves. So that had been our, I'd say, motto, and that had been our strategy, and it is by design. So by design, we do not do 20 products, 50 products. If you look at the product list of some of our, I would say, I won't say peers, but products of people who are in the similar line, maybe Arvindo, Hitro drugs, and there are a few down south. So they have a product list of 400 products, maybe 500 products in the API, and they have some 200 DMFs of different products. Basically, they do each product on a campaign basis. It's like a machine. So you do one batch and that's it, or maybe two batches of one product. It's fine. But our strategy is whatever we do it day in day out, and we try to master that product. That's the strategy. Going
Okay.
forward, now, actually, we can't live with 4 products. So earlier we had one, we added another. So every year we add 1 or 2 products. So for example, we added rosuvastatin now in last 2 years. Montelukast was added a few years ago, and we have another few products building up in the coming years. So depending on the patent expiries, 2023 sitagliptin is going out of patent. Vildagliptin is going out of patent last year. Rivaroxaban is expiring next month. So basically, as and when the patent expires and we get the generic market, so we get it. And more important is that which customer needs what are their specific requirements. Every customer has their own ways, and every customer has their own special requirements, whether related to molecular size or related to, I'd say, impurity profile. Let's say we try to match that so that we don't lose the customer.
Okay.
So happy there.
Uh-huh. And you just touched upon those medical devices, which I think also is in very much of demand, especially post-COVID. And you've been a leader in this segment. So can you just throw more light on, I mean, especially your strategy? Although you've been selling very well, what is the secret and what is your strategy?
I would say strategy again is same leadership, but diagnostic devices, of course, the leadership is on a different level. Diagnostic devices, the leadership is that because there's nobody else, we are the leaders. So, but yes, we still have to compete with the multinationals who have their, I would say, long arm and long stay in the country. But multinationals take their own time to stretch their arms, and they have, I would say, their own ways to respond. And certainly, sometimes they have different technology and a better product. But we
Right.
understand the market pulse, and we understand the consumer much better, and we have a right price point, and we have a cost leadership strategy. And
Okay.
then second important thing is that the business model. The
Right.
model per se is that in a glucometer and in a BP monitor, people want to buy this thing at a particular market price. So when you buy a thing at a particular market price, then certainly we have to supply them the consumable, we have to supply them the strips at a certain price. So basically,
Right.
it's a model wherein we have a longer term relationship with the customer. So if we have one customer, we give them a lifetime guarantee. It's practically 99-year guarantee that whatever problem is there in the meter, we will replace because we don't want to lose the customer. We like to service them. And there is only one company who have got service centers all over the country. And all our sales rep, they double up by service engineers also. And in this business, it's very important because it's a device ultimately. So whether
Right.
it is 2,000 rupees or 1,000 rupees, it's a device. So people need service, people need repair, replacement, and the chemist who the customer is dealing, they will always want better service. And with simple things, battery ulta laga hua nahi chal raha, theek hai, bekar hai. So they will come back. So the chemist also doesn't want to take any question mark. He'll just replace it, and our guy will come, he will say, "Utha ke le jao." So that's it, as simple. So we'll also do that.
Right, right. And I mean, we are talking of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So these are all, I mean, imported from somewhere else, or they are manufactured in India?
But say when you say Atmanirbhar, we are Atmanirbhar here. So whatever, all our glucometers are made in India, and it's now that of course it is after Modi ji have come, we have started. It was 3-4 years now. So
Right.
glucometers is made in India. BP monitors we have established the line, but because of manpower shortage, we haven't been able to start. But otherwise, we are manufacturing oximeters in house. Of course, it is in short supply. And then spectrometers we are manufacturing. Nebulizers are made in India also, but we don't get good quality. It is still being imported. But
Okay.
one area where government is pushing, and we are appreciating that their effort. That these are the things which can be replicated in India. We still need some good infrastructure. We do not have ancillary infrastructure, but we'll be able to do it. Forward, India would be self-dependent. We don't need to import small little things from abroad. Don't need
Right.
to be
Right.
on that.
Okay. And the other thing that I noticed clearly was Moripun has about 125 patents, 111 DMFs, and so on. So, I mean, if you don't mind naming, I mean, I would be keen to understand as to who are your closest peers in India, and if not in India, abroad.
I would say, basically, in a pharma industry, it is no secret that we can't live without these patents and DMFs, and this is our backbone. So any
Right.
pharma industry, whether it is Morpen or for that matter, I would say any, whether it is Sun, Cadila, Cipla, Lupin, whatever, all these peers, so everybody has access to patents. So these patents are important for us to remain in the market and play in the market, because technically we are a generic country. So
Right.
we are allowed to replicate products after the patent expiry, and but we have to have a different process. So most of the patents are related to process patents or
Right.
improvement in the process or a new form or a new polymorph or a new side chain which is not patented by innovator. So all these patents help us to survive in the market. For example, if we want to launch a product in say Israel, so maybe in Israel market they have a certain patent. So we have to see, okay, how can we beat that patent? How can we have a product which doesn't I'd say block the patent? Similarly, we may have a different product, different side chain for the say Chinese market. We may have a different product for US market. And
Okay.
sometimes the customer comes and educates us that, by the way, this product you are saying is going to expire in 2023, but according to this patent, you can't do this. So either you have to do this, or otherwise your launch will be delayed by 2 years. So I would say this is a long process, and that's our whole IP, which where I would say that's the hidden value which the companies carry.
Right.
And if many a times you might observe that a certain company is valued by the market or by a venture capitalist, let's say, on very high multiples, and nobody understands why. This is where this why is. That company has
Okay.
got intellectual properties. And as far as DMFs is concerned, that's I would say our like a registration. That's like a product registration in any market where we go. We have to present a DMF. Earlier time, Indian companies were filing hundreds of DMFs in US market, and many of them are inactive. So US has now raised the price of filing the DMF. It's like $75,000 for per DMF, and then approval. So they are trying to restrict. So we have between Europe and US 111 DMS. It means in so many markets we have a potential of getting new customers.
Right.
China have got 9 products registered, which is very good because all these products have been registered in China also. Atorvastatin, rosuvastatin, and even sitagliptin. So these have been registered in Chinese market also. Japan market, we are getting the registration done. Then we are filing dossiers. So we have 5 dossiers of the finished dosages for the new molecules, which are to expire, which are still under patent. So we are working on those. Basically, that's the IP which company carries.
Okay.
Coming to the peer groups, I would say that on the market side, you guys can tell better. But on the product side, every product we have a different competition. So maybe loratadine, we are competing with somebody else. Montelukast, we are competing with somebody else. And these are all market strategies.
Right. But clearly, I think you're the leaders in these two.
Loratadine, Montelukast, Atorva, and Rosua. So this is where
Right.
we operate well. And I'm not naming the products. Other product which we are still under patent. So
Okay.
as the patent expires, certainly we'll be talking about those products.
Right. But that pipeline is more or less ready, you're saying.
Yes, we have a 10-year pipeline. So that's what we do. That's what we work for. And that's
Okay.
our, I would say, bread and butter. That's our backbone. Bread
Right.
and butter is the 4 products we're talking. Our backbone is what we do in the next 10 years.
Right. Absolutely.
If we are planning to be a billion-dollar company, so we got to have a solid plan. So that's what our plan is.
I mean, if I heard you right, $1 billion company.
Well, actually, not tomorrow, but actually it's over a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to really have that sort of goals because, I mean, unless you have a goal, you don't reach there.
Yeah, so we need a solid backdrop and a solid R&D and
Yeah.
a long-term vision. And Morgan is known for that only. So we never get into these petty things. We always
Mhm.
think big.
And I mean, is that the reason that in the last board meeting, the promoters have opted to subscribe to warrants convertible into equity at 25, which is again, anyway, close to the market price right now. And I believe you would be bringing in about 400 crores into the company over the next 18 months through this warrant conversion. And this should take your equity holding, your promoter holding to beyond 50%.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
clearly, it's a heartening move that promoters are increasing their stakes significantly, which also increases the confidence of the general investor public. But I would like to understand as to how you would be using those funds. Is it for expansion? Is it for repayment of some old dues or anything else?
Ambrish, like I told that we do not have any outstanding liabilities in the books, and
Right.
only thing we may add up is either the working capital or primarily the capital plan for the API. So
Mhm,
API
mhm.
plan is to the tune of 180 crores. So of
Right.
course some come from cash flow, some will be funded here, and we have like I told that outstanding preference capital of the banks. They need to accept cash and do some partial settlement. So we'll be
Mhm.
happy to settle them in cash. And third, of course, is the increased working capital. And now, since the business is growing, the working capital requirement will go up, debtors go up, inventories go up. And because of this so-called uncertainties of COVID or other things, so many times you have to stock up to the higher levels. So we have
Right.
to have inventories. So those are
Mhm.
the we added up. But it is planned over a period of 18 months. So the
Okay.
way we have done it is that as and when the monies are required by the project, so that was the warrants were the best instrument that we
Mhm.
don't need the monies on day one. So we can get monies over a period of 18 months.
Perfectly fine. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Suri, for an open and frank discussion, especially about your past issues, which clearly many promoters prefer not to talk about. I'm sure those watching this video would surely like to
That's
know.
because they come out of it now. So,
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm saying that, just to put a closing line there, that many times people form their opinion sitting home and they really do not know what's happening. And honestly, we also
absolutely
had the market because we had internal slate to clean. Till I
right.
settle the bank, till we pay the FD holders and we settle all the complex legal jargon that people throw on you. So actually, the focus was not there. And
Absolutely. I'm quite sure. I mean, those watching this video would surely like to know more about your company, especially the skeptics who may possibly have another look finally.
anytime,
So,
anytime.
so just closing this, wishing you all the best on your new growth phase for Moripin. And again, a very happy Diwali to all of you.
Happy Diwali and safe Diwali, I would say. This
Thank you.
Diwali is giving scare to everybody. Cases are going up now.
No. But then I suppose your product, Bernol, is always there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Ji. Thank you very much.